do start to question your identity and things, and I think it's just going back to to keeping composure, to keeping centered, to keeping centered on God, to keeping hopeful, keeping looking for that light, and also not to reconfigure who God is. I think sometimes people want to reconfigure God because God is great on the mountain moments, but when you're in the valleys, God is different, and God is not different. God has not changed through the whole of time. He doesn't change. So keeping a good positive focus on life and God, and keep seeking. As soon as you stop seeking, as soon as you start to shift from confidence with God, I think that's when you start to open yourself up to other things. Make space that's not God, and the space we're filled with darker things. So it's important to just keep that fight going, keep the strength, keep the faith going.
Hello Mike, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. How are you doing?
Not bad, not bad, not bad. So this is my 29th episode. It's a privilege to have you as the 29th guest, would I say. How do you feel?
Privileged. Number 29 is a good number, so I'm happy with that.
That's great. what exciting thing have you been up to lately?
Too much. I feel really busy recently. My mum and my birthday is tomorrow.
Your birthday is tomorrow?
So, yes.
For real? I didn't know that. My birthday is on Wednesday. I was born on the 28th.
Oh, right.
I feel like great people were born in January.
Yeah, I think the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like something special about us, really.
Other than Jesus, the best people. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Thank you for being willing to share your story today. And to start us off, how would you describe the season of life, especially in your walk with God right now?
Yes. So I think the season in just now is quite a patient season, a season of waiting, a season for digging into God, to digging my roots deep and broad with God, and things are quite tough, but also, by the age I am now, I feel like I've matured to know what to do, what to think.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it easier sometimes, but it's just digging those roots and making sure you're rooted in God through these circumstances. So, a transition season for sure just now.
How would you say people should handle like a transition period?
Yeah. So, I think always being rooted in good values, and being rooted in God, obviously, and being rooted at the core of, your core, who you are, and I don't think people should allow themselves to transition into a new personality or a new persona for a new job. To an extent, fine, but it's about transitioning with your identity and being proud of who God has made you in His image and in your own image, and your own personality that He's given you, and flourishing in your circles. So,
how did you find out what God has called you to be?
So I remember a talk by Brian at Rehope years ago, and he said, the first things that people ask is, "Hi, what's your name and what do you do?" And his answer is, it should always be your name, and I'm a child of God. And that's your that's your first identity, that's your first calling.
Yeah.
And I think life can be so transient and changes and things and ups and downs, and your identity is a child of God, the first and foremost. And that's your first calling, that's your first identity. And after that, there's specialisms beyond that.
Yeah. How did your walk with God start? How did you come about knowing who you are and being rooted? Because a lot of people go through tough times and get blown by the wind. And how are you able to solidify your roots and know that God is still in control, irrespective of the storm around me?
Yeah, that's a good question, a big question, because life can definitely throw you curveballs.
Yeah.
And I think God will never give you challenges that you cannot take.
Yeah.
You'll never be tempted beyond what you can manage, but there's an element of you need to be responsible, and you need to make sure you're in a sense in control. You're trusting in God. You're even if it comes to where you're just asking for God's crumbs on the table, you're basically being humble and moving on, walking with God in every way, is and never losing hope, never losing joy. We are called to rejoice in all circumstances because we have an identity which is joyful, and in no way, shape or form are people in heaven similar. They're not like experiencing life's difficulties and life's financial constraints, and you know, keeping mediocre, good because God's there, but life is not so good as well. That's not what people in heaven are like. They're joyful, and we are called to bring God's kingdom to earth, and likewise to bring the rejoicing that God has for us on this earth. That can be difficult when when you turn around, when you face life.
Yeah.
So facing God, obviously this joy is incredible, but you've got to face life as well, and it's a challenge to respond to that. And it can be really tough when life does give you curveballs, and there's been several mindset shifts and lines from movies and things that have helped me keep steadfast. Obviously,
do you have an example, like a line from a movie?
Yeah, so one of my favourite lines from movies is, or the quote is from Rocky, which is, Rocky's a boxing movie, but it says in Rocky, it's not about how hard you hit.
Yeah.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forwards. And it's so true for so many things in life. It's how hard you can get hit, but keep moving forward is so important. It envelops everything from your jobs, from your relationships, from your walks with God. Sometimes you feel like you're doing well with God, and you get someone's like, that's not great what you're doing. This is not, this needs to cleaned up or whatever. And again, moving forward with these challenges and being persistent in your faith, it's so important. I remember as well about being raised as a Catholic. We were told about how Jesus was carrying his cross, and Jesus fell 3 times. And I very well imagine Jesus was sometimes falling carrying his cross, because his cross was massive. It was a massive pain to carry.
And the burden.
Yes, after being absolutely beaten by scourged by the Romans.
How muscular could Jesus have been?
He must have been a pure tank. But keep walking forward. Jesus was also praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was crying. There was blood. Some people believe that Jesus was crying blood out of his eyes because of intense stress.
Yeah.
And that is a biological thing to happen. And after all that, he's still walking towards the crucifixion. So it's just so important to keep walking forward in faith and using these examples to get you to where you want to be. Another one is a more controversial person that people have ideas for and against.
What's that? What's that, rather?
In my days of playing Call of Duty, one of the quotes that came up was from Churchill.
Winston Churchill.
Yes,
I like Winston Churchill a lot.
Yeah, he's got some really good points.
I read his books to the point that I went to get some of his pictures when he was delivering his speech back then in high school, because Winston Churchill and Martin Luther King they motivated me so much. I was going through my Google Drive and I was seeing a lot of Martin Luther King speeches on my phone with his wife when they were giving their speeches, rallies, and also Winston Churchill. And it's like never give in, never give up, only give in to like a good conscience. I'm just like, who's this guy?
Definitely a very good motivational kind of guy. One of his favourite lines I recognised from Call of Duty was on the pause screens was, if you're going through hell, keep going. And it's so true. Why stop in hell? If you're going through so difficult circumstances, it's so easy to be like, do you know what? I need to take time out to pause things and just to spend time in this pain. And that's not what we should do. We should be moving forward. If you're going through hell, keep going, because once you get out of hell, you're out of hell.
Sometimes we say things like this and we feel it's easy to do, but there's some people that find it very difficult to achieve. Were you always at this point, or how did you get yourself from understanding that this is a means to an end? It's like a curve. Do you understand? So it's like you're climbing up the ladder, and you know that this is not the end, this is just the beginning. So how did you get yourself to see yourself in that light? Because some people find it hard and they're like, all they can see in front of them is just the problem and the challenge they're saying.
And sometimes people have challenges that they struggle with, even medically and things, and with medication and things. And sometimes, our bodies are challenges to work with. But I have benefited from having really good friends and good supports around me to advise.
So support is a good thing, friendship is a good thing.
Absolutely, not to be rooted in your flat if you're feeling a bit depressed or low. If you're going through lots of exam seasons and stresses and you're like, man, I need to chain myself to this desk. sometimes the answer is not to chain yourself to the desk, but to go and speak to people, to go out for walks and things. One friend one time advised me quite abruptly, okay, have you had fruit recently? And I was like, what? He said, how many fruit have you had today? How many pieces of fruit? And he said, like, fruit is really good for feeling good and for giving yourself natural sugars. And true, right enough. If you start to starve yourself from rewards like fruits, like that can have an effect on your brain. So having natural glucose, for example, is one of the biggest things you can do. Having regular water as well is another really good. So just basically feeding your body with what it needs to feel joyful is a really good way to be like, okay, life can be a bit better than this. Than the way I feel.
True.
So and spending time with people as well, and good people, is really important as well. Another person advised me one time that there's a season for everything.
Yeah.
There's a season for you feeling great, and there's a season for you finding things tough.
Yeah.
But everyone has a season.
Yeah.
Which means when you're having a low season, other people could be in high seasons, and that's when you go to other people for support. And
so life is not meant to be done alone.
No, absolutely not. No. We are made for company. We're made for companionship. And at the times when you're feeling low, that's when it's good to stretch out to all your networks, as many as you can, reasonably. You don't want to strain one or two people constantly, because they'll get annoyed eventually.
Yeah.
But to spend time with lots of people and really get advice and listen to the advice and take it on board from multiple people, and before you know it, you've got so much to work with.
During some of your lowest moments, what goes on internally, emotionally, or spiritually? Do you like draw away from God in your lowest moment, or do you draw away from people?
Yeah. So I think everyone would have experienced these things before, but I've had some really, really tough times in my life, and sometimes for very long periods of time. COVID happened.
Yeah.
But before COVID happened, I had circumstances where I had my own COVID for a long while, not health, but because of life circumstances. I was in my flat for a long while, and it was very, very difficult. I think it's these times where you do start to question things. You start to question your own identity. You start to question God's purpose. You start to, these things come to you. But we know Job in the Bible, he had really difficult circumstances as well thrown at him, and he just kept walking. He kept believing. He kept hoping, and he said, "Look, God, why are these things happening to me? But I'm going to be faithful to you regardless." And surely there's more than this. And I think that's really important to always have that on the line.
In the space of, you said before COVID, and now that's like probably like 6 years different, or 7 years different. When you look at yourself back then and you look at yourself now and seeing how much you've grown, how much improvement you've made, like what goes through your mind? You feel so proud of yourself.
Yes. I think it's through tough times that you learn skills. I know it's a feature in relationships, for example, in a loving relationship. When a couple goes through difficult times and they come out of it and they're like, well, that was really difficult.
Yeah.
But the love they feel for each other after those negative circumstances is so much stronger. And that's a fact. That's how relationships seem to work. Through difficult times, you build stronger together. And likewise, that building through difficult times and becoming stronger is you look back and you're like, man, I know how to advise other people now because I've been through these circumstances and I've felt it. So a lot of people sometimes throw criticisms too quickly. Like, why just get up, just get your flat? It's really quite simple, and it's sometimes not so simple. But to go through circumstances, to feel it, to understand, to listen, and to help people through circumstances, it's good at the end when you're out of it. And also when you are feeling down and you're feeling exposed, that's when you can start to get spiritual attacks as well. And some people don't want to believe that spiritual attacks are a thing, but they are real. Jesus spent a lot of his ministry going through the streets, casting out demons and things, and these are real. These are real circumstances that happen. And although we are a body, we're a soul as well. So sometimes when we're low, sometimes Satan or dark forces can start to really test you and really tempt you in different ways. a lot of guys, for example, and maybe girls as well, a lot of guys can be tempted by many different things, by pornography, by temptations to binge eat, to say things to people they know they shouldn't be saying, but you feel convicted because these are still difficult times and you just want to release. But that combination just encourages you to say things or do things that you shouldn't do. And Satan's really good at dragging people away from their safety place. He's trying to tempt people away in very, very subtle ways. And a lot of people know, especially Christians, know that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And Satan is not in any way, shape or form close to his power. So they get an understanding that Satan's quite dumb in some ways, and Satan is not dumb. Satan is an angel of light. He's so intelligent. He's so, in his own way, powerful. He knows. He's had hundreds or thousands of years to know how humans work.
Yeah.
So he's really cunning. He's really intelligent. Jesus is absolutely so powerful, more than that. But in dark times, some people can allow themselves to fall into temptation and to listen to these dark commands and things. And again, it's important to just slow things down.
Yeah.
And to think, what's going on here? How am I feeling? And is this the right thing to do? And to go back to prayer, to composure, to bring peace into your life, and to think clearly, and to take fruit, to take water, to look after yourself, to get enough sleep, to socialise enough, to go for enough exercise. One of the things that's really important I've read in the Bible is, I've picked out here 1 Corinthians 9:24. It basically says, we run in such a way as to win the prize. Paul says he strikes a blow to his body and makes it his slave. And it's really important to realise that our bodies are a temple of God, but they're also living cells, they're muscle fibres. We need to look after our body. We need to remember that there is a connection, a spiritual connection with it. And if we neglect the body, then we're not going to be happy, we're not, things get more tough. So it's important to look after the body, but not to indulge in the flesh as well, and to go back to our spiritual self as well. And
Well, as a Christian, how did you understand what you were going through? Did you struggle with guilt, confusion, or questions about faith while dealing with depression in those seasons before COVID?
It's you do start to question your identity and things, and I think it's just going back to keeping composure, to keeping centered, to keeping centered on God, keeping hopeful, keeping looking for that light, and also not to reconfigure who God is. I think sometimes people want to reconfigure God because God is great on the mountain moments, but when you're in the valleys, God is different, and God is not different. God has not changed through the whole of time. He doesn't change. So, keeping a good positive focus on life and God, and keep seeking. As soon as you stop seeking, as soon as you start to shift from confidence with God, I think that's when you start to open yourself up to other things. Make space that's not God, and a space we're filled with darker things. So it's important to just keep that fight going, keep the strength, keep the faith going.
Perfect. So Mike, what other things do you think is useful in engaging in the spirit, like in Christian spiritual things?
So obviously first and foremost the Bible.
Yeah.
That is so important, to spend time in the Bible, spend time in the Word, and to read it and to listen to it carefully. Sometimes, maybe you've seen this as well, you're reading the Bible and you're like, man, that is weird. Those are speaking to my circumstances, like in this life. And sometimes people say, have you heard of this quote? It's in the Bible, and you're like, man, that is speaking to me. So the Bible, first and foremost, is really, really good and important. And sometimes there's really coincidental moments where God's speaking to you through the Word. One time, fine, the Bible was written to reflect some things, but some parts of the Bible are timeless and they speak to our circumstances. Another thing I think is really good for engaging in that spiritual deep, that area of nurturing for yourself is fasting. So a lot of people look at fasting and go, fasting must be unhealthy because you're neglecting the body's needs, and we're given a body to maintain and stuff. Yes, we are, but what's greater than the body is our connection with God and spiritually as well. So I find that fasting is a really, really powerful way to engage in your inner self in a deeper level than the flesh. So I know that this year we did fast week at the start of January.
Yeah.
We did it last year as well. And each time I go into fasting week, I'm like, right, here we go. I mean, I'm doing workouts 4 times a week.
Yeah.
I need a lot of stuff to help me, replace what I've lost and
Yeah.
stuff to build. And yet fasting week is coming up. And you're tempted to feel difficulty, but actually when you start it, you realise the benefits. You just go into an area where you do beat your body in a way that's not beating it up. You're managing your body. Your body is allowing itself to enter a different state. So biologically, when you do fast for 2 or more days, you enter a phase where you are no longer using glucose for energy. You're using fat cells more often.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll use muscle fibres, but that is further down the line, more so. But when you use fat cells, your body loves using those cells as a source of energy, and it's really good for your brain as well, and you just feel so happy.
Yeah.
So biologically, fasting is actually very, very good.
Good, very, very good.
But it also, again, reminds you of, for a short spell, food is not essential, but listening to your spirit and feeling the connection with God is so much more powerful for the short term and long term. And I always come out fast week, like, I just feel like so much more recharged.
Yeah.
And so much more in a realistic way. I'd encourage everyone to do fasting if you've not done fasting before. You genuinely you realise that life is more than this, and you feel a sense that you've been elevated.
Yeah.
You feel like you're not in the body anymore, you're more kind of like with the spirit. And even on day 5, when I start to eat food again, or at the end of day 5, I still feel like, okay, I'm eating food. But you retain this feeling of like, there's more to life than just this. There's a deeper connection that I'm really more engaged with right now. So fasting is really super powerful for making us realise our identity is more than just the flesh. It's really powerful.
That's good. I also want to ask you about building relationships with people. How would you how would you tell someone that's seeking to speak to people, go out there? You're talking about not just being in the desk. Some people, it's not easy for them and things like that. So these are the things you've learned. How would you say people could cultivate relationships that could help them? And you said friendship is a very, very good support system.
So it's good to surround yourself with people that you know share the same values as you, not just to be too picky, but it's about, when there's shared values, you can go through difficult moments with an understanding of how each other works, and building the friendship deeper through difficult moments and getting through it together. You'll clash more often when you're with people that don't have the same values, because you're going to be working with the circumstances plus conflicts in personality and conflicts in views and things, and they might be like, Michael, do you know you need to go out, go clubbing, go and get a girl, spend a night, 2 nights with her, and you feel that's not the Christian perspective, but it's also not helpful for your mindset and things. So having someone who's resonating with your values is a really positive thing to have. And there'll be a time where they'll need your help as well, and this is part of relationship building, is to look for people that have those values. Sometimes it's a good thing to, people ask, how do you build a friendship with people?
Yeah.
How do you have friends? How do you make friends? And I've seen some funny videos.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that, and I'm just I get confused. I'm like, okay, I feel like I just walk up to people and I'll just start talking to them.
Yeah.
But some people don't find it that easy.
Yeah.
But I feel like if the people that find it so easy can walk up to the people that find it not easy, he ups the wall. I don't know, that's just in my head though.
Yeah, I've seen some funny videos online that basically say that they've got this, in this video, they've got a workmate, and they're thinking of proposing to this workmate, of taking the friendship to the next level, being official friends.
Yeah.
It's quite funny because it's like, it's not so official like that. He's got a written document of things or whatever, and it's I think a good way to break into friendships like that is to ask for advice, is to listen, and to how you doing? Oh, that's good, yeah, cool, and not to just break off. but to listen to them. Are they actually doing okay? If they're good, doing okay, great, celebrate that. And maybe there's things you can help them with, and finding a bit more about them, and being genuine, and being helpful, you know, and loving others as you would love yourself, kind of thing. Just building those connections and going through difficult times together to get through. There's different ways you can do it as well. For sports clubs, music's a great way to spend time with people, either playing instruments or going to concerts and things. But building connections and building an understanding of what other people are interested in, and also being adaptable to what they're interested in and what you're not interested in. Maybe you're going to like something they're really interested in. You know, this is not just a cliche thing. It's really important for people to build connections in this, to get through life together like this.
What's your favorite Bible verse?
That's a good question. I have got too many, and I still make it my task to start to remember verses.
Oh, no worries. You could just say it you don't have to say it accordingly, but just if it's one out of your many good words, what's one Bible verse sticking with you?
I've got one written down that I really like, to be honest.
You can prepare in case I ask that.
I need to make it my task to remember more verses, but Paul speaks about. Paul's such a fantastic guy in the Bible.
Would you consider yourself a Paul in the Bible, or a kind of John or Matthew?
I can see resonances with Job because of circumstances, but no, Job is a fantastic guy.
Yeah.
He is so good at keeping faithful, but the circumstances are something similar. Paul is a fantastic guy. I love Paul in the Bible. He's so strong. He's just so militant, and just guys, we need to keep faithful, you know, keep moving forward. He doesn't, he's such a great guy. One of the things it says in the Bible is about, he says, I press on to take hold, straining towards what is ahead, pressing on towards the goal to win the prize.
Yeah. Basically,
just, being stagnant is sometimes really difficult. And another friend of mine one time advised, if you are praying hard and you want to really move, you want God to move in your life, but if your boat is stationary, if your boat's stationary, God's not going to be able to move it. You need to start making movements, and God will guide you. And if you're making movements towards a direction, and God's like, where are you going? God will let you know. God will guide, So if you're stagnant, your boat's going to keep spinning. You do need to make some momentum in whatever you're being called to do, and God will guide through that. So just pushing forward and moving on, and not allowing yourself to be stagnant. As soon as you're stagnant, you do start to get temptations, and you start to get darker forces applying to your life. So just keeping steadfast in that faith and that movement in life.
Yeah, it's a book I'm reading currently by it's called Be Useful by Arnold. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Schwartz. Okay. I don't want to murder the name, but he was a governor in California for 8 years, but now he's an actor and things like that. He was talking about our ability not to let what people say get into our head, our ability to keep pushing. He uses the gym as an example. He says he doesn't just want to do 5 reps and go. He wants to do it until he feels the pain, until he knows that he's eating it. And it's okay, failure is not the final destination. Yeah. Failure isn't fatal. It's just a means, and you learning another way not to go about that way again, and you standing up and going that. And he also mentions that one of the things that pushes him is when people tell him you can't. And it's oh, you can't, says he's going to do it. And which is good. And another thing is that faith that makes God totally responsible is an irresponsible faith. I heard that while I was in university by our chancellor. When he said it, I'm just then it's God has his part to play, we have our parts to play.
Absolutely.
So you're not God won't make us irresponsible ambassadors of his kingdom, but instead he wants to partner with us. It's not it's not the Lord over slaves. It's a partnership with his children, and he calls us kings, and he's the King of Kings. So God is also sharing the glory with us. It's guys, I want you to be a part of this thing I'm doing, which is also really amazing.
Absolutely. You reminded me about, taking God for a side for a second. People who do fitness and do muscle building things know what you just said. To build muscle, it's only through resistance. it's only through resistance you're going to build in general, and it's so true. Building an understanding of how God works in your life through difficult moments is how you're going to get to the next level. And sometimes it's time for stopping.
Yeah.
The pillar of fire didn't always move, it stopped sometimes.
True.
And they set up camp.
Yeah.
They stayed in camp. They stayed until God told them to move, and then the pillar of fire moved, and they all packed up and went. So,
but while it also stopped, there were instructions they had to follow while they were staying.
yes.
So they weren't like idle. They were doing something.
Yes,
so
yeah.
while in that staying moment, you could be reading books, personal development. You might not be acting on those goals, but you could be journaling, spending time with God, like explore, getting to have more knowledge. So it's like you're not still stagnant, but something is happening. But it's not just happening on the external, it's happening on the internal.
Absolutely.
So the internal man is still getting built up.
Absolutely, the act of faith is good.
Yeah, which is great also. Lastly, what would you do you have any words to tell anyone watching this right now that might just be going through a downtime, depressive moment, and they feel like they're just stuck?
Yeah, if you feel like you're having a low moment in life and you're stuck, in reality it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
God has plans for you. He has great plans for us to experience a good life that He wants us to He's got plans for us. Not everyone, we know in the past that people go through different persecutions, and some people have never received the blessings they thought they would receive. But it's important for us as Christians to realise that God is light, God is love, God is joy. And if God is those things, when you're going through low moments, not to think, well, maybe God isn't quite like that. To discern what's God's thoughts and what is your body's thoughts, or even Satan's thoughts, and to focus on the light. Maybe sometimes take time out and relax, not to take time into temptations or to indulge in other things, but to take time out, relax, spend time with God, and to remember your identity, to talk, to exercise, to go out for walks, to remember you're getting enough food and water, to take care of yourself, and to plan ahead, short term and long term, and to keep moving. And I'm one person for wee quotes just to motivate myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you read the quote too often, it becomes stagnant itself. So having a few quotes. One I've got here is a gladiator picture, and it says, "The road to heaven feels like hell. The road to hell feels like heaven." And there's a picture of a guy who's really, really overweight, and he's indulging in wine and fruit, and that's the road to hell feels like heaven. And it's so true. The road to heaven feels like hell. Jesus had to go through some really difficult moments, some joyful moments and difficult moments, in order to have His glory as it happened. So the road to heaven does feel like hell sometimes. That doesn't mean you should feel down. It means that we should build our spiritual strength and our bodily strength through resistance in order to get to a better place, and for us to look back and go, wow, this is how life is unfolding. This is how we can help other people with these circumstances as well. So times do pass, there's a season for everything, and to seek out support that's going to be helpful in the moment, but also to have a mindset of we need to keep moving as well. In some time periods, God wants you to feel His love, and to not have darker thoughts or darker actions that's going to compromise that. Wow,
that's great. It was a great privilege listening to you. Like, I learned a lot of things while listening, and a lot of things were like just so striking. I felt like I was listening to the podcast myself.
Sure, yeah.
Yes, it was so good. It was so good. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for joining us on this recording. And if you've not subscribed, please do. In that way, you help the podcast grow, and you help be part of our history. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you. God bless.